Welcome to the deep dive. You know how it goes. You're trying to get a handle on something, really learn it, but sorting through all the info, it feels like a job in itself.
It really can. Overwhelming.
Yeah, so we try to cut through that noise. We take a deep look at some key sources, pull out the stuff that really makes a difference, the game changers.
And keep it interesting along the way, hopefully.
Right. So today, we're tackling this feeling. I bet it hits close to home for a lot of folks. Being just completely swamped, running around, even with all the latest productivity apps and tools.
The paradox of tools.
Exactly. Like CSO Insights found that over 45% of salespeople, they're not hitting their numbers, even with all these things meant to make them more productive.
That's a pretty stark statistic, isn't it? It shows a real disconnect.
Totally. That gap between the promise, this tool will save you time, and the reality of feeling, overwhelmed. It's pretty universal, I think. Doesn't matter if you're deep in tech or just managing your week.
It is a fascinating puzzle. We pour money and time into these tools, but so many people feel more pressure, less effective. Makes you wonder, are we missing something fundamental?
I think so. So to help us figure this out, we've really dug into Jill Konrath's book, More Sales, Less Time.
Ah, Konrath. Good stuff there.
Yeah. And look, even if sales isn't your specific field, trust me, the core ideas about managing your time, your attention, your energy, it's gold for anyone.
Absolutely. The principles are widely applicable.
And she didn't just pull this out of thin air. She talked to neuroscientists, psychologists, time management gurus. It's well-researched.
Which adds a lot of weight to her strategies.
Definitely. So our mission today, distill the most actionable strategies from her work. Things you can, start using right away to get some time back and focus on what actually matters.
It's about understanding why we feel so busy and then finding practical ways out of that cycle. Konrath offers a great roadmap for that.
Okay, let's dive in then. First big thing Konrath tackles, distraction. Just the relentless challenge of it.
The age of distraction, she calls it.
Yeah, and how this constant connectivity is it's seriously messing with our ability to think clearly, strategically. Our brains are juggling too much.
And there's a brain science reason for that, right? She talks about the amygdala always scanning for novelty and dopamine.
Right. The feel-good chemical.
Exactly. So every notification, every quick check online, it gives us this little dopamine hit. It feels good momentarily.
Creates a feedback loop.
A powerful one. We start seeking out those little hits, even unconsciously pulling us away from, the harder, focused work.
Totally. She quotes Nicholas Carr. He calls the internet an interruption system.
Yeah.
Which feels spot on.
It really does. It's almost perfectly designed to fragment our attention. It's not just about willpower. The environment itself pushes us towards distraction.
And the stats are kind of scary. That Deloitte study.
Right.
Average person checks their phone, 46 times a day?
46 times.
Yeah.
And Mary Meeker's research backs that up. Checking messages, calls, even just the time, often without really thinking about it.
Wow. And you figure someone in sales waiting on that big prospect, they're probably checking even more, right?
Yeah.
That constant hope for contact.
Oh, absolutely. The pull must be intense. It becomes almost reflexive.
And it's not accidental. Konrath mentions Neriel's work, Hooked, how app designers and marketers use triggers, notifications, badges.
Little red dots.
Yeah, all designed to hijack our attention, pull us back in.
And the cumulative effect. It's not just annoying. It genuinely impacts our mental energy. Konrath calls it the human side of sales productivity. But it applies to everyone.
How so?
Well, all these tiny interruptions, they force us into constant, often superficial decision-making. Should I look at this? Should I respond? Ignore it.
Oh, right. Decision fatigue.
Exactly. It wears down our mental reserves just trying to manage the incoming noise.
So our energy gets depleted just fighting off temptations. And Konrath makes this really key point. Just resisting isn't enough. Gritting your teeth doesn't work long term.
Right. It's exhausting. She argues our brains need positive actions, focused engagement, not just this constant state of saying no.
So it's less about defense and more about offense, like building positive habits.
Precisely. A proactive approach. Designing your day, your environment, to support focus rather than just battling distractions after they appear.
Okay, so how do we start to claw back some of that lost time?
Well, Konrath starts with goals. Setting really specific, measurable goals for time management.
Like your own example.
Yeah, she decided she wanted to maintain her income but cut her work hours down, aimed for 36 hours a week.
36, that's specific.
And she said just setting that specific target immediately shifted her mindset. Her brain started filtering differently, prioritizing what would get her there.
That makes sense. Clarity drives focus. She also tells that story about her LinkedIn followers, right? After she got named a sales influencer.
Oh, yeah, that's a great illustration. The numbers shot up, and she found herself just constantly refreshing, watching the count go up.
Even though it was technically a good thing, it became a huge time sink.
Exactly. It shows how distractions aren't always obviously negative. Sometimes they're disguised as engagement or progress. The skill is recognizing when something stops serving your main goal.
And the cost of getting pulled away. It's not just the interruption itself. That research she cites from Jonathan Spira.
The recovery time?
Yeah. It takes, what, 10 to 20 times the length of the interruption to fully get your focus back?
It's staggering when you think about it. Spira estimated just checking email frequently could cost up to 2 hours of productive time per day.
2 hours, just from email checks.
Wow. It really highlights the cumulative damage of those just second interruptions. Protecting blocks of focus time becomes critical.
Konrath even did her own little email audit, didn't she? Checked how many actually needed an immediate reply.
And the answer was?
0. Nothing in her inbox couldn't wait for a scheduled processing time. It really challenges that sense of urgency we feel about digital messages.
It forces you to question the default assumption that every ping demands instant attention. We need a more deliberate approach.
And it's not just external things pinging us. Gloria Mark's research that Konrath mentions, the average time on one task before we switch.
It's depressingly short, just over 3 minutes on average, even less on our devices.
3 minutes. So often we are the interruption.
We are. Our minds wander. We become our own biggest distractors, even without a notification.
Which leads to that idleness aversion idea, that feeling we need to be doing something, anything, rather than tackle a hard task.
Yeah, the discomfort of facing something challenging can make us seek out easier, quicker hits of activity, even if they're unproductive distractions we create ourselves.
Okay, so enough problems. What are the solutions? What can we actually do? Konrath gives some practical strategies.
She does. One big one is simply making it harder to get distracted in the first place. Create friction.
Like using apps, freedom, things like that.
Exactly. Blocking websites, social media, or even just physically moving your phone to another room when you need deep focus. Simple, but effective.
Makes sense. Out of sight, out of mind. Hopefully.
Another tactic is managing rewards. Since cutting off all online stuff feels like deprivation, which can backfire, she suggests scheduling specific times for those activities. Plan your breaks, your social media time. Treat it like a reward you've earned.
So you don't feel like you're totally missing out, and you're less likely to impulsively check in when you shouldn't be.
Right. It's more sustainable. Then there's the WOOPI method.
Whoopee. What's that?
Wish, outcome, obstacles, plan. It's a way to mentally prepare.
Okay.
So you identify your wish, say, I wish I spent less time mindlessly scrolling. Then the positive outcome, I'd have more time for my important project.
Right.
Then, crucially, you anticipate the obstacles. I'll feel the urge to check my phone when I'm bored or stuck.
Okay, yeah, that happens.
And finally, you make a plan, a if-then plan. If I feel the urge to check my phone, then I will stand up and walk around the room for a minute, or whatever works.
Ah, so you pre-plan your response to the obstacle, like programming your brain. Konrath used it for her LinkedIn thing, right?
Exactly. It helps you redirect your behavior automatically when the trigger hits. It moves beyond just wishing.
Cool. And the last big one in this section was digital decluttering.
Yes. The visual chaos matters. Cluttered desktop, too many apps, messy bookmarks. Konrath cites research showing this clutter actually hurts our thinking.
Like those studies from Princeton in behavior and information technology, visual clutter equals cognitive load.
Precisely. Cleaning up your digital workspace reduces that load, makes it easier to focus. Fewer things catching your eye, pulling you away.
Okay, so we've talked about fighting distractions, getting time back. How do we use that time better? Get more done.
Right. Optimizing the time we do have, Konrath shifts to finding your focus.
Which starts with decluttering the mind, she says, writing everything down.
Yes, get it out of your head. She references Greg McKeown's quote, "If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will."
Oof. That's a powerful reminder. Be intentional or get swept away.
It's about freeing up that limited working memory. Offload the to-dos, the ideas, onto paper or a system so your brain can focus on execution.
And she hammers home that difference between important work, the stuff moving you towards goals, and just urgent work, which is often someone else's priority.
That's such a critical distinction. It's easy to be busy but not productive, caught in reacting, not advancing.
So you need to constantly ask, is this moving the needle on what really matters?
Exactly. Regular, conscious prioritization is key. Stepping back, evaluating, making sure you're investing time where it counts most.
She uses that one thing concept too, right?
Yeah.
Citing examples like Jack Kosakowski focusing hard on social media or Ryan Kay on niches.
Yeah, finding that area of highest leverage. Where can your effort make the biggest impact? Focusing there rather than spreading yourself thin.
Okay, so concrete strategies for getting more done.
Ruthless prioritization comes first. Focusing on the core drivers, she often mentions pipeline building, strategic planning, and actual production or delivery.
So identifying your key result areas and dedicating time there.
Right, and then designing a better way, thinking systematically, using time blocking.
Scheduling specific blocks for specific tasks, like prospecting or proposal writing.
Exactly. Instead of letting the day happen to you, you structure it proactively. You build walls around your focus time.
That sounds good. Then there was that IQ White experiment. Tell me about that again.
Yeah, deciding at the start of the day exactly what time you will stop working.
Really? Like commit to finishing at 5 p.m. sharp?
Yep. It creates this constraint, this urgency. It forces you to focus on the absolute priorities because you know the clock is ticking. Protects you from just letting work expand indefinitely.
Interesting. A deadline you set for yourself. I like that. She also mentioned knowing your don'ts.
Yes. Having pre-decided things you consistently say no to, it saves so much decision energy.
So you don't have to weigh every single request that comes your way.
Exactly. Clear boundaries protect your time and your focus for what you've already decided is important. Conserves that cognitive energy.
And for maintaining energy during the day, those quick reboots.
Things like power poses, Amy Cuddy's research showing they impact confidence and stress hormones.
Standing like Superman for 2 minutes.
Basically. Also, brief social chats, moments of playfulness, even short naps. Harvard studies show naps really can restore productivity.
So acknowledging we're not machines. We need these little resets for physical and mental well-being to stay sharp.
Absolutely. Our cognitive performance is directly linked to our state. And she also likes the Pomodoro technique.
Right, those focused work sprints with short breaks built in.
Yeah, great for tackling procrastination and staying focused. Plus, breaking down huge, overwhelming projects into smaller, manageable chunks makes them less daunting.
Makes sense. Take the giant elephant one bite at a time.
Pretty much. And finally, routines. Morning and evening routines.
The morning one. Eat the live frog. Tackling the hardest task first.
Yes, leveraging that peak morning energy and willpower, like Mark Twain advised and Brian Tracy wrote about, using those first 10 minutes effectively.
And the end-of-day routine.
Reflection, taking a few minutes to review the day, consolidate learning, plan for tomorrow. Francesca Gino's research showed this reflection significantly boosts performance.
Right, routines anchor the day.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, this next bit was really intriguing. The mindset shift part, the time master idea.
Yes, this is where it gets quite psychological, but really powerful.
It sounded a bit out there at first, but she backs it up with that Dr. Ellen Langer experiment.
The one with the elderly men. Yeah, fascinating study. Langer basically created an environment that made them feel psychologically younger.
And they actually got physically and cognitively younger in some ways.
Measurably so. Better dexterity, posture, even eyesight and memory. It shows the incredible power of mindset, psychological belief on our actual state.
Wow, so Konrath applies that to productivity by acting like a time master.
You start to embody those qualities. It taps into self-perception. You believe you're capable of managing time well, so you start acting that way.
She even admitted feeling embarrassed initially about using simple tricks like that careless pose before cold calls.
Right. But those small physical shifts can genuinely change your internal state, your confidence, which then changes your actions and results. It's embodiment.
And she mentioned psychologist George Kelly's idea, acting as if.
Yeah, Kelly's two-phase process for identity change. You start acting like the person you want to be. You behave as if you already possess those qualities.
And eventually it starts to feel real. You internalize it.
Exactly. Behavior can lead belief. It often bypasses our usual resistance to change because you're not trying to force the feeling. You're just doing the actions. The feelings follow.
Why did Konrath find the time master thing work so well for her?
She breaks it down. 1, she had a really deep understanding of the problem by then. 2, the persona was ultimately simple. 3, it was creative, something she built. And 4, she made it fun.
Fun. That seems important, but often overlooked in productivity stuff.
Totally. Those elements, understanding, simplicity, creation, fun, are key for making changes stick. It wasn't just about restriction, it was about becoming someone new and capable.
So she suggests we try our own little as-if experiments.
Yeah. Pick a situation. Want more persistence. Act as if you're incredibly tenacious for an hour. Need willpower. Act as if you have monk-like focus for the next task. Boost confidence. Act as if you're the most confident person in the room. Even happiness.
Like little behavioral trials to see how it feels, how it changes things.
Precisely. Low stakes, high potential insight. Test the waters, build belief through doing.
And she even gives a way to structure it, like creating your own as-if game. Choose a productivity quest, design an avatar.
Yeah, gamifying it. Makes it engaging, less like a chore, more like a challenge or an adventure. Taps into that playfulness, which lowers resistance.
Okay, so pulling this all together, that feeling of being crazy busy,
Yeah.
constantly overwhelmed, it's common, but not inevitable.
Definitely not. Konrath makes a strong case that we can change it by understanding the forces pulling at our attention and by using these practical strategies for time, focus, and even mindset.
So listeners now have this toolkit, really. Ways to fight distraction, use time better, shift how they even think about their productivity.
A whole arsenal of strategies.
And the key takeaway seems to be, don't try to do it all at once. Start small.
Absolutely. Pick one thing. Maybe it's blocking distractions with an app. Maybe it's trying the Pomodoro technique. Maybe it's just that end-of-day reflection.
Experiment. Become a scientist of your own productivity, as Konrath says. See what works for you.
Exactly. And be patient. It's a process. There will be good days and bad days. Slip-ups happen. Just keep learning, keep adjusting. Consistent effort over time adds up.
Right. Well said. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening, building on that as-if idea.
Okay, how about this? Take a second and picture the absolute most productive version of yourself. Really see that person. Now ask, what would that version of you do right now in your current situation, facing your current tasks or challenges? Just try acting as if you are already that person, just for the next hour or the next task. See what shifts. See what possibilities open up.
Act as if. I like that. A powerful note to end on. Thanks for diving deep with us today.